So you're about to raise your prices, about to pitch for a big contract maybe, or about to quote for a project that could change everything. And then you start to ask yourself, am I worth it? You talk yourself out of it, maybe give a bit of a discount, undersell yourself, let the opportunity to slip away because it's easier. I have definitely been there myself. In financial psychology, we found that most of us unconsciously cap our income at roughly the same level that our parents earned. Interesting. It's called your financial set point. And when you try and exceed this financial set point, your brain literally hits the emergency brake. And this is why perhaps you might be hitting the same income ceilings in your work or in your business. And today I'm going to show you exactly how to start to raise it without hustling more, without feeling guilty about earning more, and without this unconscious betrayal of where you came from. So let's talk about the invisible income ceiling. There is a concept in psychology called this financial set point, or what some researchers call your unconscious income ceiling. And if you think about it, it's like this amount of money that you are allowed to earn, but anything over that is where we start to self-sabotage, right? And what a lot of research actually goes to demonstrate is that the income level that your parents or main caregivers had when you were a child becomes this psychological baseline for which your whole brain, your body, your nervous system believes is normal and safe for you to then earn as an adult. And I've definitely experienced this myself. I remember in the summer of 2020, let me think about this. It was post COVID. It seems to be the timeline for everything now, doesn't it? Is it BC or after COVID? But it was around the summer of like 2022, I think it was 21 maybe. And my mum came to visit me in Jersey in the Channel Islands. And in that particular year, we did, because of lockdown, we had a lot of financial professionals who had a lot of spare time on their hands. And they studied with us in our certified financial coach program. And in that summer, when my mum came to visit, my bank statement was lying on the kitchen work surface. And I remember her picking it up, and it showed this particular month it had more than £50,000 going into the bank. And I remember her picking up the bank statement and looking at it and going, oh my God, did you earn that much this month? And instantly, my instant response was to shrug it off. No, like it was just a one-off. We had a really successful month. Like that doesn't happen every month. Automatically, there was something in my body and my brain that was telling me, I can't tell her that this has been going on for months and months and months, because that would make me feel bad, because I'm not working particularly hard in comparison to how she had to work. She had to, bring up 4 children by herself. And so it was very much this sense of guilt that how dare I make this money more easily than she did. And she had to struggle. And when I started to think about it after the event, I was like, why did I feel so guilty? Why did I feel shame that I was earning more money than she was? And when I looked at the psychology behind this is where I learned about these financial set points. And it really got me thinking about, is this why unconsciously I'm limiting myself because I don't want her to judge me? I don't want her to make assumptions about me based on my relationship with money because of her relationship with money. And so it really just sparked off this curiosity into a lot of this research and study around income ceilings. And there is a study that was published in the Journal of Financial Therapy that found that our what they call their money scripts, which was a term that was created from Dr. Brad Clonst, who I've interviewed on my podcast and on this show before. I'll pop a link in the show notes to 2 of those conversations I've had with Dr. Brad Clonst. And these money scripts are these unconscious beliefs about money that we formed in childhood. And they're much better at showing us a prediction of our adult financial behaviors than any income level, any financial education we receive or even any financial knowledge. So just think about that for a moment. Your childhood money environment is a stronger predictor of your financial success than your degree, your business acumen, or your education. It's interesting to think, isn't it, about the impact that this has on our financial success. And what you think you're capable of achieving as an adult is directly influenced by how much money your parents made when you were a child. And so when you do exceed that level, your brain doesn't recognize it as success, it registers it as danger. So your brain unconsciously brings you back down to what feels psychologically safe and familiar. So the financial behaviors, the income levels that we observe in that period of our life become this internal normal. Even if that normal was stressful or money was scarce growing up, it's still what your brain knows. And your brain will always prioritize familiarity over growth because familiarity equals survival. So if your parents earned £30,000 a year, your brain might treat 60,000 as unfamiliar territory. It makes sense, doesn't it? Even if you desperately want to make more money, if your mum was a nurse and she was earning 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 a year, and you're now a business owner charging 100,000 in revenue, then your brain might literally reject that level of success because it doesn't compute as safe. And I see this so much in the work that I do with clients. They'll set income goals, they'll reach them, and then immediately they'll have a month where everything falls apart and they self-sabotage. Or they'll raise their prices and then feel so deeply uncomfortable that they just discount them again within a few weeks. Or they'll land like a really amazing contract and they'll ghost the client, or they'll like distract themselves by busying themselves with small tasks and not actually focusing on the project that's going to make the money for them. So it's this, your unconscious mind is basically saying, this doesn't feel safe. So why does this happen? Well, your brain essentially is not trying to deliberately sabotage you for something that you consciously want. But the first thing to recognize is that your brain is wired for predictability. It's not wired for growth. It's wired for I can't even say it. Predictability, right? Your brain is wired for predictability. And so your brain's number one job is to keep you alive, keep you safe. And the way it does this is by keeping things predictable. So when you were little and you absorbed everything about your family's financial reality, maybe some stress levels, the conversations or lack of conversations, the income, the spending patterns, and your brain logged all of that as this is what money looks like. This is what is normal. This is what is safe. So when you try and exceed that or change that, even if it's exciting to your conscious mind, your subconscious brain perceives it as danger. It's unfamiliar, and unfamiliar equals potentially dangerous. The second reason is that we can create what we call unconscious loyalty patterns. So if your parents struggled financially, part of you might feel guilty about surpassing them. It can almost feel like a betrayal, like you're leaving them behind, or like they're not good enough somehow if you're earning more than them. Or you're saying, well, I didn't appreciate that lifestyle. You're saying that their life wasn't good enough. And so I've had clients say things like, my mum worked 3 jobs to keep us afloat. Who am I to make 6 figures from my laptop? Or my dad made more, or maybe he never made more than 35,000. And so it feels wrong for me to make more than he did. And it's not logical. It's based on trust and relationship and really love. It's a deep unconscious way of staying connected to the people that we love the most, and we don't want to disrupt that. The third reason is huge fear of the unknown. Have you ever recognized this in yourself, that when something is unfamiliar or you don't know the outcome of something, we fear it? The brain has its purpose to protect from things that are not familiar. And so when you're looking at income levels, success at a high income level means that your life potentially will change. You might have different responsibilities. I know when I was making more money in my business, I had more team members to pay, and that felt like a huge responsibility that I wasn't just paying myself. I was actually responsible for the lifestyle of my team. And at that point, in that story I was telling you about in the summer of 2021, 22, I had two people in my team who were single mums. And so I was like, oh God, like if I don't keep this up, they're not going to be able to pay their bills. And that felt like a huge responsibility for me. It might be that when you start to earn more money, that you have different expectations on yourself or from other people. Maybe different friendship groups start to form. Maybe you find that you don't have anything in common with your existing friendship group because you have that awkwardness of when you go out for dinner and you feel like you have to pay for everything because you earn more. And there's that kind of awkwardness around money. And it can create this feeling of division, which we don't like. And so we push the extra revenue away. We give it away. We put these energetic income ceilings where we don't want it. And your brain doesn't really know how to navigate it because it's so unfamiliar. So it will always try and pull you back to what it knows, even if what it knows is struggle. And so if everyone in your family or everyone in your peer group or your relationship pool earns a certain amount of money, stepping outside of that can feel quite isolating. Suddenly, if you become the first person in that community or that group to be earning the most amount of money, it can feel hard and it can feel unfamiliar. And this is where the nervous system work comes in. I want to talk about nervous system work. It's the feeling in your body. So when you approach a financial set point ceiling, your body experiences stress responses. And so you might feel a sense of anxiety when you think about raising your prices. You might feel guilt, maybe when you've received a large amount of money, like I did in that summer when my mum came to visit me. You might feel a sense of panic when you realize that you are actually on track for having your biggest revenue year ever, or this sudden urge to get rid of the money, give it away, or sabotage your income some way. And that's literally your nervous system trying to regulate you back to safety. And understanding that is so powerful. Even just understanding this whole concept can be enough to give you an opportunity to really pause and consider, is this why I'm self-sabotaging? And now the financial set point is just one of those hidden money beliefs. Okay, it might be one that is significantly sabotaging you right now or has done in the past, but it is only one of those hidden money beliefs that might be keeping you stuck. And it's an important one to understand. There are many others, and the chances are that you've got a few different money beliefs and things that are keeping you stuck. And I have actually created a free guide that breaks down 5 of these hidden money beliefs that sabotage financial success, including the exact questions to ask yourself to try and spot them. So if you are wanting to dive deeper into this, you can go and grab this guide at themoneypanel.co.uk/beliefs. So how do you know if this is your pattern? How do you know if this is something that is affecting you? Well, there's a couple of signs to look out for. The first one is that you have an income ceiling that you keep hitting. Sounds like an obvious one. So Maybe that's 50,000, 100,000, whatever that income ceiling is, and you keep getting close to it, and then something happens. Maybe it's a slow month, or an unexpected expense comes up, or a client suddenly cancels, and then you drop back down again. So that's the first, most obvious sign. The second sign is that you start to feel uncomfortable when you exceed your parents' income. So if you know or you suspect that you're earning more than your parents did, and it makes you feel guilty or anxious or like you're showing off, that's a red flag to look out for. So notice that one. The third sign is that you sabotage right before a big win. So that might be, if you're an online entrepreneur, it might be a big launch that you're having. It might be if you're about to close a big contract, you're about to have your best pay rise, and then something happens. You get sick. You find that all these problems start to happen. You start to fight with your business partner, or suddenly all this extra stress in your life creates difficult conversations with your partner at home around money. Or you just suddenly decide to just burn everything down, rebrand everything. Like, this is just such a classic of self-sabotage. The fourth sign is that you kind of quietly justify staying where you are. And so you might tell yourself something like, oh, but this just isn't the year for me. This isn't the year that I'm going to be really successful financially. Or you'll tell yourself things like, oh, I don't really need that much money anyway. Or I'm not motivated by money. Or I just want to help people. And some of that may be true, right? There's a truth in how we relate to money is very much aligned to our value system. And it might be true that you want to help people and money isn't that important for you and you don't need that much money. But in reality, for most of you listening to this, you very likely want to get to a place where your mortgage is paid off, you're debt-free, and you've got enough money in the bank to pay you a lifestyle for the rest of your life, and then you can not worry about the money. That's where most people want to get to when it comes to their finances. So while some of those things might be true, they're also maybe a bit of a convenient excuse to avoid the discomfort of this financial growth. So just kind of acknowledging that. And then another sign to look out for, sort of linked to this, is that you might be really terrified to talk about money with your family. So if the thought of your mum or your dad finding out how much you earn makes you want to go and hide under the kitchen table, that's a really clear sign that you're carrying some kind of unconscious financial shame or some financial loyalty. And as I shared in my example, I didn't really know I had this until literally this conversation was in my face. I couldn't avoid it. I couldn't run away. Although my body wanted to, I had to literally respond in that moment. And in that moment, I was like, no, this is just a fluke. Like, this doesn't happen every month. That was my initial response. So just take a moment. This is my invitation for you to reflect. Think about your parents' income when you were growing up, or your main caregivers. You don't need to know the exact amount of money, but think about the range. And now think about your own income goals. Are you hovering around that same level? Are you unconsciously keeping yourself tethered to that number? Just reflect on that for a moment. And then I want to talk about, how do we break this pattern? And when I say break this pattern, the first thing to do is to really acknowledge all the appreciation that you have for everything that you experienced in your family childhood related to money, even if there was scarcity, lack of money, arguments around money, divorce, all the things that can be very traumatic as a child but recognizing that there's always reasons. And I'm a big believer in things happen for you, not to you. And what did that teach you about money? And how has that informed your relationship with money now? And so this is really about rewiring those set points that were established 30, 40, 50 years ago. And even further, your parents' relationship with money is often influenced by their parents' relationship with money. And it goes back 3 generations. When I trained as an inherited family trauma practitioner, we looked at these inherited patterns back through 3 generations, and it goes back through epigenetics. So at a DNA level, these belief patterns can go through the family generations. Think about the family generations from 3 generations ago, had a very, very different cultural experience. Things that they grew up in were very, very different to things that we now experience. And that does have an impact. And so it is completely possible to rewire your financial safety set point. But it does require patience. It requires a whole bunch of compassion and a lot of nervous system work. And if you're wanting to dive into this nervous system work and the body work to really understand the emotional responses in your body, I would really recommend that you come and take my $37 Body of Wealth course. It's a self-paced 4-module course. It will take you less than 3 hours to complete, and it will really help you to establish the nervous system patterns, the body patterns that you might be holding on to, and how to release those. You can grab the details of those in the link below, or head to themoneypanel.co.uk/body of wealth. So step 1 in this rewiring process is to bring this topic into your conscious awareness. So by even listening to this today, we're doing this already. And the first step is awareness. You can't change what you can't see. So start by naming it out loud. Naming it out loud that I have this pattern and this is what it is. This is what I learned about money from watching my parents. This is the amount of money that feels safe for me. And when I exceed this amount, I feel, and then express, what do you feel? Anxiety, guilty, uncomfortable, shame. Just expressing that. And from this place of awareness, we move into step 2, which is separating your story from your parents' story. And this is really important. Your parents' income level was their story. It was shaped by their education, their opportunities, their generation, their choices, their circumstances. And you are allowed to have a different financial story than your parents. Doesn't mean you love them less. It doesn't mean their life wasn't valuable. Doesn't mean your life is better. It just means you're writing your own chapter. So you can honor your parents' sacrifices. You can love where you came from and grow beyond it. These things can coexist together. So step 3 is we move from this place of recognizing the awareness, separating your story from your parents' story, and then gradually expanding your brain, your body, your nervous system's capacity. Because the thing is, we can't just leap from £40,000 to £150,000 and expect that your brain, your nervous system, your body is going to be okay with it. We have to expand gradually so that your body can prove to itself that making higher income levels is safe. So think of it like an elastic band or strength training. You don't go from lifting 5 kg, or in my case, probably 2 kg to 50 kg overnight. You gradually, incrementally do that so that your muscles adapt. And so if your current income level is 50 and your goal is 100, well, then maybe aim for 60 first. Let your body get comfortable at that level. Understand the emotions that come up. Prove to your brain that nothing bad is going to happen if you earn 60,000. then move to 70, and then 80. And if you're in business, you can set these financial goals through your calendar and look at the emotional responses, the sensations that come along with those financial goals. And then the final step to that is, once you've got this awareness, you've seen that there are two different stories, you've been able to gradually expand your capacity, then the final step really is about regulating your body when you do hit resistance. So when you start to approach or exceed these set points, your body will show you some emotions. It will show up through expressions of feelings, whether that's in the tummy, in the chest, in the throat. It will show you. And it may not be something you have necessarily acknowledged or appreciated before, but expect it to happen, because that's exactly how your body works. So we need tools to regulate yourself in those moments. So here's one that you can try. Place your hand over your heart, left hand on heart, right hand onto your belly, and take 3 deep breaths in for the count of 4, and then we hold for the count of 4, and then out for the count of 8. And it will look and sound something like this. And already just doing that, I feel so much more relaxed. And when you're practicing this, you can say out loud, it is safe for me to earn more than my parents. I'm allowed to have a different financial story. My financial success doesn't diminish their value. And I would do this daily, tuning into the heart, taking that breath, re-regulating, getting your nervous system back online when you hit those milestones. It's really important that you do that part. And it is deep work. If you're recognizing this pattern in yourself and you're struggling, then you may want to reach out and get some support from a somatic financial coach or a therapist. And if you do want a few more little tools and resources for this to work through with yourself, then we focus a lot of this in all of our programs. But if this is the first time that you are wanting to really dive into the somatic side, I would definitely go and download the Hidden Money Beliefs Guide at themoneypanel.co.uk/beliefs. And then if you're ready to go into the practical application, then I would go and have a look at the Body of Wealth, which is our $37 mini course at themoneypanel.co.uk/body of wealth. And the final thing I want to say as I close off this particular session with you today is, when you get stuck at different income ceilings, it's not because there's something wrong with you. It's not because you're not disciplined enough, or you're lazy, or it's for other people and not for you. And actually, sometimes it's not even self-sabotage. I think sometimes we are quite hard on ourselves, and sometimes it can be because of situations. And I know, as a mid-40s woman who's been navigating neurodivergent diagnosis and also perimenopause over the last 2 years, that can be a significant contributor. So it's not always because you're self-sabotaging or that there's something wrong with you. It could just be circumstantial. And really think about that. Sometimes I think we dive too much into there's something wrong with me and I need to fix it. When actually, there may just be something going on that is affecting your ability to make more money in your work, in your business, that you can't control. And I think letting go of that control as well is a really important part of this conversation. So teaching your body that abundance is safe, recognizing some of those patterns that may have come through the family generations, and also recognizing that when you start to shift this for yourself, you get to have this opportunity to honor everything that they provided you with. And if you have children of your own, breaking these income ceilings is literally resetting the entire financial landscape for the next generation, because your kids are watching and learning, and they're like sponges, everything they are learning from around their environment. And so what you're teaching them is that growth is possible, changing cycles, breaking cycles is possible, and you are allowed to exceed what came before. That wealth doesn't have to come with guilt. You're not just changing this for yourself, you're changing theirs too. So take a deep breath, name that ceiling, and then slowly and lovingly start to raise it. And I'm excited to dive more into these subjects with you again next week on the show. Thank you so much for being here and listening. Drop me a comment underneath this if you're listening on YouTube, and I will see you again next Monday. Take care, guys.